Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 28th of October. Um, let's get right into the analysis. So, first of all, let's go over the trades that we have taken. The very first one is one that we entered yesterday during this call. So, it was GBP NZD. I was looking for buys on the pair. Reason being is the weekly time frame was bullish. We had pulled back into these two previous structures. Daily time frame is bullish or still is bullish, but if we close as is right now, then we will have shifted bearish. So from here up to here, we're bullish. I don't really count this as an elbow. I know some people do. So yeah, we have two time frames in sync there. 4-hour time frame was still bearish when we took the trade. So 4-hour time frame was bearish, but I did notice a shift of structure on the 2-hour time frame. So we broke above this point right here. And then I had basically entered on this candle. As you can see, price messed around for a little bit, but eventually reached our stop loss. And I had considered entering another position, but I decided against it until the 4-hour time frame actually gave us a proper shift to the downside or to the upside, excuse me. So that was the loss that we took yesterday. Let's clear some of this stuff up. And now what is going on with the pair? Well, the 4-hour time frame has a new lower low. This is the lower high. The daily time frame seems to be breaking through the daily EMA and will soon shift bearish. Weekly time frame is still bullish and will probably remain bullish for a while. So as of right now, I mean, we took two losses in the exact same place almost on this pair, except for this one was a wick out. 4-hour time frame here had shifted bullish. Our stop loss was simply just too tight. I don't really like trading GBP NZD. I might actually remove it from my watch list. I don't think I've successfully traded this pair even one time. There's a loss there. So I don't like it because of the size of the stop loss you have to have. To have a regular stop loss, it's like 70 something points. But I guess the moves are a little bit larger on this pair. So even with a larger stop loss, you end up getting more pips to the upside. Say, for example, here, if our stop loss was placed underneath this structure point, that is 105 pips. Now, we would have still gotten, I mean, if we're being real, I don't think that we would have held through this entire pullback, but we could have maybe gotten a 1 to 2. So as you can see, it still doesn't really make too much sense. So yeah, I'm considering maybe not, maybe removing it, maybe just not trading it. I feel like doing analysis on these pairs is still beneficial overall. But same thing here. Had our stop loss been like this, then we would have gotten about a 1 to 3 risk to reward out of this trade, and we would have still gotten taken out of this trade regardless. So I guess it's just a bit of a skill issue, if you might say that. Next trade I entered was USD CHF weekly time frames bearish. We are trading kind of at all-time lows. So that is a bit of a problem. We have seen reversals in this area before, but we will trade and we will continue to trade with the overall time frames, which are bearish. So weekly time frame is bearish. Did we ever close? Yeah, we did. So we closed below this structure point, making this the next lower high for the next lower low. So that's the lower high. This is the lower low. Daily time frame, basically the same structure. This is the lower high. This is the lower low. Now we're creating the next lower high to create the next lower low. Currently in a bit of drawdown. So we created a head and shoulders pattern here. Let's go over the confluences really quickly if my computer will speed up. Okay, so weekly time frame is bearish, daily time frame is bearish, and 4-hour time frame has successfully shifted bearish. So we were bullish, we broke above this point, we went bullish, higher high, shifted bearish, went back up, created bullish market structure, and now we shifted below the EMA, shifted below the area of interest, and that's basically where I set my stop losses. Preferably would have been about 25 pips, maybe up here. But I liked the selling momentum we were getting underneath the area of interest. So I made it a little bit tighter so that we could get a better risk to reward out of this trade. Now, the reason that I decided to enter is because one, we shifted bearish on the 4-hour. Two, we had a pullback on the 30-minute time frame. We pulled back into the EMA and had a reaction off of the 30-minute EMA. So my stop loss was above the area of interest, above the 30-minute EMA. And now I'm just waiting for price to reject and continue to the downside off of this EMA or the 1-hour EMA, which is also within this area of interest. So we had a 30-minute bear or 1-hour bearish engulfing. We had a bunch of entry confluences that shift the structure. So here on the, what's it called? On the 15-minute, I don't know why I marked the 15-minute. It's the 15-minute 1-hour time frame, I guess, did go bullish right here. 15 minutes. Broke above this point. Okay, so the 15-minute didn't actually shift bearish. So that's not a confluence, but these two are. So we have a 30-minute rejection of the EMA underneath the EMA and a 15-minute engulfing candlestick right here, as well as a 1-hour engulfing candlestick, which is basically the same confluence. I wouldn't necessarily say that it makes the trade any better or any worse. But yeah, now we're just waiting for the continuation to happen. This area of interest usually gets quite a lot of price action. You can see how during this trade right here, we had price push up, reject the area of interest, push up, and then break through. Once we broke through the area of interest, we actually got a pullback into the area of interest and then a sell after that. So we might end up touching this area of interest right here. Hopefully we don't get wicked out. As you can see, there are quite a few wicks within this area here. But we're just going to continue to watch, wait, and see what happens. After this trade, we ended up entering, or basically at the same time as USD CHF, I saw on NZD USD a bunch of selling also beginning to happen. So here we had a 1-hour shift to structure, and I basically entered after I saw a reaction from the 30-minute EMA. Now, usually the 30-minute EMA does wonders for price action, but that usually happens once the 4-hour and the 30-minute EMA are in sync. So here we're above the 4-hour EMA, and initially I was waiting for the break and retest of that 4-hour EMA. But I also decided, you know what? There's a lot of selling happening across the board on CHF pairs. We have CAD CHF had a huge sell-off. We created a double top here. NZD CHF, we were also selling very, very aggressively. But if you'll notice something, you'll notice that, and then GBP CHF is a completely different story. We're already underneath the 4-hour EMA. But for most of these CHF pairs, price is currently above the 4-hour EMA. Here it's underneath, here it's above, and on USD CHF, it is currently underneath. Wait, what am I talking about? We're talking about NZD. We're talking about USD pairs. Sorry. GBP USD, we had the selling. That's kind of what I was paying attention to. Euro USD, we're above the EMA. And then the other pairs that are very similar are the CAD pairs. So the CAD pairs will correspond with the USD pairs very closely. For in our instance, it would be NZD CAD. So NZD CAD. Am I blind? NZD CAD. All right, we'll come across it at some point. I'll notice it. I feel like I'm staring right at. Did I remove it from my watch list? Wait a minute. NZD CAD. Anyways, the idea is, okay, so AUD CAD is one that works just as well. AUD CAD and AUD USD. Wait, where did some of my pairs go? NZD CAD. There's NZD CAD. I guess that's all we're looking for. NZD CAD. AUD USD is not here. So for some reason, AUD USD. Is that one I'm missing? Nope, it's here. Interesting. Anyways, I guess I'm just not paying attention very closely. But what I was saying is I noticed a lot of selling. So we had the 4 hour, basically a 4 hour bearish engulfing and a shift of structure on the 2 hour time frame in correspondence with the higher time frames, which are bearish, and the 30-minute shift of structure underneath the EMA. Pullback, engulfing, everything that I like to see. However, there was that possibility that since we were still above the 4 hour EMA and we were above the area of interest, that price would come back. And that's what I told myself. That's when I told myself that if price was going to do that, we would close after price broke above the 30-minute EMA. And that's exactly what I did. So we closed with a, I think, 0.2% loss. So on $1,000 account, in my instance, was $200 or $1,000 for 1%. But yeah, that's the recap of the trades that we've taken. So far, 2 losses, 1.2%, which is quite recoverable in basically one good trade. You catch a 1 to 3. Here it is 3.81 if we reach the full take profit on the daily time frame. If we reach this structure point right here, that would recover our losses, and then we end up with about 2.5% of profit for the week, which is all you really need. That's kind of the goal. All right, let's actually get into the full breakdown, starting with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has continued to push up. Yesterday, we ended up closing with an actual bearish doji candle, a rejection candle, if you might, from the previous area of interest. So since this reaction has happened, we might see a little bit of continuation, especially with the daily doji. Now, one thing that I'm noticing is that we are above the daily EMA. As you can see, when we're above, we're usually buying, even though price comes down like this, we end up pushing higher. And when we're below, we react from it, and then we end up selling. So that's probably what we're going to end up seeing here is a reaction, say, off of the 1 hour EMA, and then a continuation to the upside. And if not, then price will probably break below the 1 hour EMA, retest, and then sell. The only question is, how far are we going to sell? And I guess an answer to that question would be probably no further than this. This is where we have the 4 hour EMA and then previous structure and a little bit of an area of interest as well. Couple of wicks, so on and so forth. So not a huge fan of trading Bitcoin at the current price range it's at. I would much rather see it push down into the EMA as it has multiple times and then take buys off of that EMA on the weekly time frame. S&P 500. So that the NASDAQ and then US 30 are all doing the exact same thing right now, still pushing to all-time highs. Now, I'm not huge into the stock market, into futures, but I can tell you that this is most likely happening, one, because of the AI stocks. So one thing that I listened to a video talking about how, and I'm not even sure if it was some old guy, if they're older people, then they usually know what they're talking about, right? But he was talking about how the market is currently pushing all-time highs because of these AI stocks and things like that, but they haven't had enough they don't have any earnings like reports yet. They're kind of just pushing because AI is doing so well, but there is no return. Like they haven't been around for long enough to know exactly how profitable or how well these things are going to perform. Now, I will tell you one thing from what I do know is that AI is going to be a huge part of the future. That would be for digital ID, for surveillance, for all sorts of things. So Palantir, those type of stocks will be pushing price up higher and higher and higher. And in the long run, this could, be almost nothing compared to what we might see in the future. So yeah, price is pumping. There's seems to be no end in sight. Now we all are at all-time highs. So once again, until price pulls back into this previous structure, then we will consider taking buys. But as of right now, we are just pushing and pushing and pushing. This is our 4-hour structure. We created a higher high. Even now, like, what is this? The new 4-hour candle opened. And in the last 2 hours, we had huge, huge, huge pushes. But yeah, interesting to see gold. Gold has been falling pretty consistently too for the last week, for 1 week exactly, 7 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Price has been dropping on gold. Now gold is reaching a major EMA, which is the daily EMA, and it does usually react off the daily EMA pretty precisely, pretty consistently. And that's what I expect it to do. It's probably going to have a reaction from that daily EMA. Now, we don't know if it's going to push all-time highs once again. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. That's just the way that it's been moving. So I would expect a reaction from gold to the upside. Now, don't set your take profits all the way up here. Have partials somewhere along the way. 4-hour structures are probably a good place to start. Maybe mark up some areas of interest on the 4-hour time frame, such as this. That's a good area of interest right there. Now, price did open on the weekly time frame on Sunday, and since then we haven't seen any sort of major pullbacks, except for this one candle right here, which engulfed the previous 4-hour candle. So what I would expect to see is, or what I would like to see if we're going to be buying this pair, or if we're going to be buying gold, is a shift above the 2-hour EMA. As you can see, since we're still below, I'm not really interested in buying, but let's say we create a double bottom and then we break above, retest, and then we can buy. At this point, I would be interested in taking some buys on gold, because what we usually do is we trade below, then we break above, retest, buy. So it's pretty much exactly like I marked up. We break above, retest, but we're continuing to head upwards, even though we are still in a pretty big downtrend on on the daily time frame. But yeah, dollar index has created a little double top right here on the daily time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, it's a head and shoulders. We did react from the neckline and push lower. Now we're still trading above this area of interest. Daily time frame has no top wick. We're above the EMA, so we'd probably just expect a push into this next area up here. Now let's talk about GBP NZD. GBP NZD, since we are currently pushing lower, I would expect price to probably continue on doing what it's doing. I wouldn't want to take any buys anymore until we actually break above the 4-hour time frame. Seems like a pretty solid place to buy. That way would be above the 4-hour EMA, above the daily EMA, and above the weekly EMA, trading with the weekly time frame, trading with the daily time frame, and at that point trading with the 4-hour time frame as well. Wow. Let me take a sip of water. Excuse me. I'm not a public speaker, so I guess I'm losing my voice. I need to drink some tea. Or as they call it here, chai. Okay, so yeah, that's what I would expect for GBP NZD. If price does shift bearish on the daily time frame, it would be a little bit less tempting to take buys, but I want you to notice something here, okay? What has price done here in this push here? We had a push, we had a pullback, we broke above, and then we ended up closing below this structure point, right? So we add this, and then we push lower. And then as soon as we reached the EMA, then we started seeing price push back up, even though the daily time frame was bearish. So realistically, the daily time frame doesn't have to be bullish for us to take buys. But what I would like to see is the 4-hour time frame at the very minimum to shift bullish. That way, we still have the weekly and the 4-hour time frames in sync. So let's say the daily time frame is bearish. Whenever we take this, say price closes bearish on the daily time frame here, but tomorrow we have a bullish candle, or say a bullish engulfing candle. It doesn't have to be engulfing. Look here, this one wasn't engulfing, but it did start the move on the lower time frames. Why can't I? Okay, there we go. So say we had a candle like this, then the next candle we could probably end up taking our trade somewhere on this wick, considering that is if the 4-hour time frame shifts bullish. And then if you want to be even safer, then you wait for price to actually successfully shift above this EMA on the 4-hour time frame, and at that point you would probably be golden to continue trading this to the upside. I'm not sure if I'll wait for the full shift. I probably will, considering that we already have to wait until this point for price to go bullish. Then what's the harm in waiting for just like this much more? Then all you wait for this, you wait for the pullback, and then the next candle is bullish, and then the price just continues pushing up. So that's what I would consider waiting for on GBP NZD. USD CHF currently at the area of interest here on the 4-hour time frame, hoping that this is exactly where price decides to reject this area. If not, then that's unfortunate. We did get like a huge push out of nowhere. This 15-minute candle here opened, or is a 1-hour candle, but it was a 15-minute candle that opened engulfed, and now we retested above the 15-minute time frame, the 15-minute EMA, and we're pushing into this area of interest here. It is what, 8:15 in the morning Eastern time. So yes, the New York session has officially begun. And that's probably why we're getting an influx of buyers, pushing the price up before hopefully pushing it back down. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. If not, we might have to look for a re-entry after the full rejection of this area of interest. But the confluences here are great. I think I already went over the weekly time frame confluences are, so we have a I would consider this kind of a double top. I don't know if you guys would consider it that, but we have an round psychological level, which is 0.795. We have an area of interest. Weekly time frame has a pattern. We're retesting this previous structure, and we have this candlestick rejection from the previous 2 weeks. Now, one thing I am noticing in the way that price moves is that we do like to retest this daily EMA. Daily EMA is huge on this USD CHF pair, and that could be where we're headed next. Price did push into this, I guess it would be a 4-hour structure, 4-hour previous structure, and now we're pumping towards that daily EMA. That might be where we're headed after price takes us out. It would suck to see a wick that takes us out and then just a continuation to the downside, but that's also part of what happens sometimes. The daily time frame has a head and shoulders pattern. Now, it's not a complete head and shoulders pattern, I suppose, until price closes below this neckline, but I don't really exactly want to wait for price to close below the neckline. I would rather take a trade here and then maybe catch a continuation on the neckline. But we do have that pattern forming. We are retesting this previous structure, and we do have multiple candlestick rejections from this area. So still pretty solid in terms of the daily confluences. The 4-hour time frame has a pattern, double top, head and shoulders, whatever you want to call it. We are retesting the previous structure. We are, I guess, retesting the EMA now. that now that we've had this huge push to the upside, and we did have candlestick rejections. The candlestick rejection that I was looking at was this one, but I guess we don't exactly have the candlestick rejection anymore. Now, if you are going to be interested in, say, taking this trade, then your best option would be to wait for a shift to structure. Ideally, wait for price to break back below this 30-minute EMA, and then wait for maybe an engulfing candlestick. Hopefully, all three of those happen at the same time. So for you guys, it would be best to see a bearish engulfing candlestick like this, which would break underneath the EMA and give you these two confluences right here. So that's what that would look like. But yeah, let's move on to the next pair. That is NZD USD, which we closed and is now actually giving us somewhat of a continuation. Now, this was a 70% trade when I took it. Weekly time frame is bearish, daily time frame is bearish. We are at this previous structure on the daily time frame to a T. I mean, it's perfect. We don't have a psychological level. We do have an area of interest. Weekly time frame is retesting this previous structure right here. We don't have the EMA. We don't have a rejection. I wouldn't really count last week as a rejection. Daily time frame, same thing. Doesn't exactly have a pattern. It does have previous structure. It isn't testing the 50 EMA. And it doesn't exactly have a candlestick rejection. Last week, or yesterday, the day before yesterday, excuse me, had a candlestick rejection, but yesterday ended up engulfing, and it's not really much of a rejection in my eyes. 4-hour time frame, same thing, didn't really have many confluences. We don't have a pattern. We don't have previous structure. Like the previous structure would be down here. Once we get the sell, then the pullback, then all of these will be able to get filled in. And maybe also a daily candlestick rejection would be able to get filled in. But until that happens, we don't really have too much on the confluences for this pair. We had a 1-hour shift to structure. We were underneath the 30-minute EMA, and we had a 30-minute bearish engulfing candle. So those are the confluences for this trade. 70%, not the best. But then you have the 110% trade, which is currently in a worse position than the 70% trade. So, make that make sense. All right, so let's continue. EuroCAD. This is a trade that I was interested in taking at the beginning of the week. This is a trade that I took last week. I was going to send a signal. I think I had it marked up like this at the beginning of the week. And if that was the case, then we would have been up, however much. But I was still concerned with the fact that we were trading underneath the 4-hour EMA. I wasn't too happy about that, so I decided to stay out of it. Price did end up breaking above the 30-minute EMA, retesting, and then buying. This is exactly what you want to see in these types of trades. It's exactly what we saw here, kind of. We broke above. If I don't get a full retest of the 30-minute EMA, then what I wait for is just an engulfing candle after the 30-minute EMA. So in our case here, last week, it was this engulfing candle. And then this week, it is this engulfing candle right here. And we would have been up almost 2%. So depending on where you set your stop loss, could be tighter, could be a larger. Now, yesterday, I did call this out as a potential trade. I think some people took it. I didn't end up taking it, so we're not going to mark that up. Now, I want you guys to understand that we are at an area of previous rejection. There is potential that price might reject this area and reverse, because last week we actually had a bearish engulfing candle, even though the weekly time frame is bullish. Daily time frame is still bullish, which is good to see. 4-hour time frame is bullish. We have a higher high on the 4-hour time frame. So higher high to here. What we could probably expect is a reaction from this area of interest, and then a pullback into the EMA, potentially into this area of interest down here, which is kind of unlikely in my eyes. Yeah, so kind of unlikely that we push all the way back down into here. If we do push down into here, there's a good chance that we actually break through the area of interest and push even lower, which would, suck to see. But it could give us opportunities to enter trades to the downside, even though this market does not seem to be trading down at anytime soon. So yeah, this was a great trade overall. Could have been a great trade twice. I'm starting to sound like Donald Trump. This is the best trade that you've ever seen. um, but yeah, what can we expect to see now? Like I said, just a pullback to continue up. This isn't really much of an area of interest. This is more of a 4-hour area of interest, which does see many reactions, but they're more short-term reactions, in my opinion. So we could be breaking above, retesting, and continuing up for your final profit target, which would be at the daily structure right there. Okay. Am I still interested? Not really. I'd probably taking that off the list. Next is AUDCHF. All right, let's get into the good stuff. AUDCHF weekly time frame is very bearish. Daily time frame is bearish, created a lower low. This is the lower high reacting from the EMA. 4-hour time frame is above the EMA. I'm still waiting for the break and retest underneath. So we'll see if that ends up happening today. This is what I would be interested in trading, and then my take profit would be right there. Once again, we are trading into all-time lows. There is no previous structure down here to base our take profits off of. We don't know if price is going to, sell all the way down to here. All we know is that it should at least make it to the daily structure. And if not, wow. And if not, then the 4-hour structure right there. All right. CAD CHF. CAD CHF weekly time frame bearish, daily time frame bearish. We are reacting from the previous structure here on the 4-hour on the daily time frame. Very nice to see that. We do have two daily dojis. Yeah, 3 daily dojis. Wow. So we have 3 daily doji candles, reaction candles. 4-hour time frame has created a double top. We're underneath the EMA, retesting the EMA potentially, and then having a reaction there. Now what I would wait for is basically a proper rejection from the 30-minute EMA. As you can see, when we're below, we usually stay below. And then when we're above, we usually stay above. So I would just wait for price to properly push down, retest, engulf, and then you could enter. Stop loss would be preferably above the 4-hour EMA. If that's where we react from right now, then that should be a safe place to place your stop loss. So something like this, and then target would be something like that for a 1 to 2, 1 to 3. NZD CHF, same thing. We're above the EMA here. Price is reacting off the little area of interest. Looks like we created a head and shoulders pattern, which is interesting to see. Weekly time frames very bearish. Daily time frame is very bearish. We're having a pullback. We touched previous structure on the daily time frame. 4-hour time frame had the reaction to the downside. We're still bullish on the 4-hour time frame, which I don't see my. Oh, there it is. So 4-hour time frame is currently still bullish from right here to right here. So ideally, price would break below this area of interest, retest it, and then sell. So underneath the EMA, underneath the area of interest, like so. Euro GBP. Euro GBP is finally giving us that push up. Now, yesterday I said, I think we were like right here yesterday. I said technically we could take buys, but I wanted to see price do two things: break above the area of interest and break above the daily market structure. So now we're waiting for the daily pullback. This could take 1 or 2 days. GBP, that was a great entry. I did not check with the entry. Not sure what you mean by that. You didn't like the entry. There was no entry confluence. What do you mean? Anyways, GBP CHF or USD CHF? Whoops. On Euro GBP, what I'm interested in seeing is a daily pullback. Once again, 4-hour time frame would need to start to do this: pullback, 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 shift, push up. Okay, exactly what I'm going to be waiting for into the area of interest, and then have the continuation to the upside. Fantastic overall trade. That's all I'm waiting for. We have a nice area of interest, and let me delete this and delete this. We don't need those. And price should just react and have the continuation the rest of the week. I think the weekly candle, I mean, realistically, we could close with like a smaller candle and then next week have the continuation. But today is only Tuesday. There's still 3 days of price action left. EuroCAD, we went over. GBP CHF, weekly time frame, very bearish. Daily time frame, very bearish. We have created or are creating a lower low right now. So technically that has not happened because the daily candle has not closed with the engulfing. We created the triple top, we retested the neckline, we retested the EMA, and we sold on the 4-hour time frame. So now the 4-hour time frame is once again bearish. 3 time frames in sync. Unfortunately, we're trading into nothingness right now. I mean, I do believe that this wick here will get filled. I just don't know if that'll take a day, 2 days, or maybe it'll take 2-3 months of price action. So realistically, I mean, it would probably take longer. Look at how slowly price moves down. Here it was very aggressive. Recently, it's been quite clean. Yeah. All right, GBP USD. Yeah, there's really nothing to trade here, now that I think about it, other than a daily pullback. But here's the thing: if price closes like this and then we get a daily pullback to here, the daily time frame goes bullish. So that's not exactly the best. GBP USD. Weekly time frame's bearish, daily time frame is bearish. We had the pullback into the EMA. We pulled back into the area of interest like I wanted to see, and price reacted quite nicely. Was this tradable? I don't know. Maybe if you were risking it and you entered after this engulfing candle, you could have gotten a good entry. Or if you were to enter on the 4-hour wick, so the 4-hour closed, we have this pullback on the next 4-hour candle, and then you entered after this engulfing candle, your stop loss was like this. And maybe that's some kind of a trade that you could have taken. I'm not a huge fan of this. We have quite an area of interest on the weekly time frame. Yeah, the weekly time frame. There's quite a few reactions from this area, but overall, not a bad idea for a trade. GBP USD, Euro USD is probably doing the same thing. NZD USD, USD CHF. So the USD pairs are all kind of moving in sync right now. So the USD, if USD is the second pair, then they're supposed to be moving down. And I guess that means that since this is the USD in the first spot, then we're going to be moving up. But CHF is really the pair that is moving all of these CHF pairs because they're all, regardless of which other pair is paired with them, they're all still moving downwards because CHF is such a strong currency. Anyways, we already went over this. Euro USD. Euro USD is fantastic. I do like the way it looks. We're retesting this previous structure on the daily time frame. 4-hour time frame is starting to have a reaction. We have a 4-hour bearish engulfing. Still going to be waiting for the break and retest underneath, similar to this right here. We broke, we retested, we sold. Very clean. Only problem is we didn't reach our profit target, which would be these equal lows right there. So if this is the trade that we take, say tomorrow, stop loss somewhere right here, we get an easy 1 to 2, and that's all you really need. NZD JPY weekly time frame closed with a huge push up. Same thing with this here. Okay, CAD JPY. CAD JPY has returned into this area of interest right here, into the 4-hour EMA. Okay. We are above the weekly EMA. We are above the daily EMA. And we are above the 4-hour EMA. 4-hour time frame did go bearish. Daily time frame is bullish. Weekly time frame is bullish. We're gonna have a shift of structure on the 30-minute time frame as soon as we close above this. And then once that happens, price will likely just continue to create higher highs and push on up. So what I would look for is I would look for price to break above the 30-minute EMA, retest and buy. Similar to this right here, we shifted on the 30-minute time frame, closed bullish, pull back, push above the EMA, pulled back into the EMA, and then bam, your entry's right there, and price continues on up. So basically the same thing across all the JPY pairs. CAD JPY, we have already shifted. No, we haven't. We haven't closed above this point right here. So CAD JPY is still bearish on the 30-minute time frame. I'm assuming it already shifted on the 15-minute time frame. Has not done that yet either, but it probably will in the next 30 minutes or so. But that's exactly what I'd look for here as well. Break above the 30-minute, pull back, buy. I think CAD JPY will be one that I'm going to be interested in trading. I've been waiting for this pullback to happen for a few days now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. And yeah, we're going to wait maybe for the daily candle to close, but definitely for the 30-minute to get shifted above and then retested. AUD CHF. Okay. JPY daily time frame has had a push, pullback. Same thing with Euro. JPY retested this previous structure. USD. This one has had quite the pullback. GBP JPY almost looks like a reversal incoming. Weekly time frame is bullish across the board. Weekly time frame is bullish on NZD JPY, Euro JPY, USD JPY, GJ, AJ, CJ, and okay, that's not a JPY pair. Okay, so we're very bullish overall. We're just having a pretty swift pullback. Now, one thing I will notice is that we don't usually have only one candlestick pullbacks. Well, that's a lie. We have one right here. Almost looks exactly the same to this and this. You guys notice that? I mean, we could almost copy paste them. So there's a good chance that tomorrow we will get the continuation to the upside. So not today, but potentially tomorrow. On all of these pairs, the JPY pairs, we might get a nice push to the upside. On GJ, a little bit harder to tell. This one had quite the pullback overall, but there's nothing stopping it from having the reaction from the area of interest that it has had multiple reactions from in the past. So that's what we'll be waiting for. Out of all of these JPY pairs, I think my favorites are going to be CAD JPY or CAD JPY, CHF JPY. Yeah, so the 4-hour time frame here is very, very clean. And we'll probably just focus on those two for now, simply because we don't really need to be trading every single JPY pair. Yeah. All right. So we'll focus on those. Next is Euro NZD. Euro NZD, we were waiting for price to break above and retest. That was USD CHF. So that was stop loss on USD CHF. Weekly time frame, bullish. Daily time frame, bullish. We're retesting this area right here. It is a 4-hour area of interest, and we're having quite a few reactions from it. Price broke up, it broke below the EMA. Sorry, we created a triple bottom. Now we're just waiting for the break above the EMA, break above the area of interest, retest of the structures, and then continue to buy to the upside. That should be all we need in order to take this buy here. So this is something that I'll be interested in as well. Euro GBP, Euro NZD. Yeah, so we're looking for buys on both of the Euro pairs there. AUD, NZD, weekly time frame, bullish. Daily time frame, bullish. 4-hour time frame, broke above, retested. I mean, almost exactly the way that I had it marked up. Wow. 30-minute time frame, broke below the EMA, retested, sold, broke above, retested, bought. So not a bad place to potentially enter this move, but I'm not a huge fan of like our take profit would have to be right here. So that would be maybe a 1 to 2 if you're lucky. Yeah, you can make your stop loss just a bit tighter. You get a 1 to 2 out of that. And then obviously you can hold it longer if you'd like. But that is an idea for a trade. I was looking for sells initially, I think because we were creating double top, double bottom. Now we are still within this kind of choppy mess. That's why I'm just going to stay out of it. Euro CHF pushing up towards this area of interest. Broke above the EMA on the 4-hour, pulled back, and had a strong, strong push to the upside. I'm still going to be waiting to see what price does when it reaches this area of interest. We're very close, but we're not quite there yet. We have 1, 2, 3 structure points, relatively clean for sells, but this is an area where price has reversed many, many times before, and the reversals have been quite large. So We'll keep our eyes open, but we won't jump into it just quite yet. GBP CAD weekly time frames bullish, daily time frame is bearish. We had the break retest of the daily EMA, of the trend line, of the 4-hour EMA. Yeah, and now price is trading underneath the 30-minute EMA. Unfortunately, there's not much room for price to travel. It's probably just going to run into this area of interest and then have a struggle with continuing to break below it. Wow. USD CAD weekly time frame had a bearish engulfing last week. We are bullish on the weekly time frame. Daily time frame is bullish. We had a bearish engulfing candle yesterday. Now, we do have quite a reaction here. It seems to be creating a double bottom or a double bottom this way. Either way you want to see it. Either this is a double bottom or this is a triple bottom or a double bottom, whatever you want to call it. Price is retesting the neckline. However, we're still underneath this 4-hour EMA. I would wait for price to break above the 4-hour EMA to take buys. Now, price did create a lower low right here with this push to the downside. And now we're starting to see a little bit of a turnaround. Ideally, we'd wait for price to break above, retest this previous structure, and then buy. That's what I would wait for. I'm not hating the way that price is slowing down right now. This reminds me of the way that it slowed down right here. We pushed into the area, we slowed down, and then we finally turned around. I will be interested in watching what USD CAD does. GBP CAD, we already talked about. AUD CAD, weekly time frame bullish, daily time frame. This reminds me of AUD NZD. Bearish on the daily time frame. Now, initially, I think I was looking for sells, and that was because the 4-hour time frame was bearish or is still bearish. We did break above these structures right here, potentially sweeping out a lot of sellers from this market, and now price could push down and try to take out these equal structures from wherever we are. Now, the only reason I say that is because we have 2 time frames in sync to sell. If not, then I would realistically be looking to buy. We are above the EMA here. We're above the EMA here. And what price might do is just pull back into these structures and then continue to push up. So those are 2 options for us. If price breaks below this EMA, then we could target this these equal lows. But if not, then we might just retest the EMA and push higher. Nearing the end of our list, NZD CAD. NZD CAD weekly time frame is bearish. Daily time frame is bearish, retested the EMA. 4-hour time frame had a selling bearish engulfing candle. Now we're still above the 4-hour EMA. We're still above the area of interest, above previous structures. But it is promising to see price reacting from daily EMA. I think that's important to see. And from here, we might close with a bearish engulfing candle. And then after that, we might be able to catch some sells. Unfortunately, we are trading into quite low market structure. And not as bad as some of the other pairs. Like we do still have this structure we could target. And then obviously this one way down here. But who knows how long it will take price to get there. There also could be news events later this week. I have to check that a little bit later. Maybe those will help us push price lower. GBP AUD still trading within this wedge. Daily time frame, if we close as is, we'll shift bearish. 4-hour time frame has created a new lower low. But if price from here ends up shifting bullish on the 4 hour time frame. You could potentially take buys into, the top of the structure. It's been bouncing around quite consistently from the bottom to the top to the bottom to the top, bottom, top, and now we're at the bottom, So next target would be up here. If not, then daily time frame shifts bearish. We have 2 time frames in sync to sell, and you just wait for a breakout, retest, and then sell, something along those lines. Euro AUD weekly time frame, very bullish. Daily time frame, bullish, and 4 hour time frame is not up to date. 4 hour time frame is bearish. So we created a lower low. We pulled back into previous structure under the EMA, and we are now selling. Unfortunately, we do not have 2 time frames in sync to sell. We only have 1. So as of right now, I'm still waiting for price to break above the 4 hour EMA, break above the area of interest, and potentially go bullish in order for us to take buys. So that's what that would look like. Now that we've gone through everything, let's go back and pick what looks best and what has the highest probability to play out. AUD CHF, CAD CHF. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm tempted to re-enter this, but I'm not going to, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, I don't want to be too impulsive. I did exit this rather early. We could still be in this trade, and then we would have basically taken this loss and still been in this one. But there's always the chance that price decides to react from this EMA and then push higher. So what I'm going to wait for is an actual break underneath. That way the 4 hour time frame has an option of shifting bearish relatively soon. And then I'll look for a nice retest of the 30-minute EMA. So we should trade something like this. We break below, retest EMA, and then sell. So that's what I would be looking for NZD USD, which is going to be a pair that I re-enter most likely this week. I love the way we have been trading overall. Just going to wait for a little bit more confirmation. As you can see, I tried to enter at the highest point of this market, or at the highest point of this recent price history, with my stop loss barely above the daily candle. Now, if you notice, my previous trades have been after the initial reaction and then the pullback. So here we had the initial reaction. I entered on the 4 hour. It was like a little bit of a lower time frame pullback, but we did have a nice clean shift to the downside. Here, we do not have that yet. So still going to be waiting on that to happen. This is probably going to be one of my top trades for the week still, if that decides to play out. USD CAD, we're just waiting for the shift to buy. So here it would be a, break and retest to buy. CAD JPY, 30-minute break and retest to buy. This one, same thing. 30-minute break and retest to buy. This one needs a 4-hour break and retest to sell. 4-hour break and retest to buy. 4-hour break and retest to sell. Same thing here. Let's see, CAD. CHF. I'm going to take this one off the list and then focus more on AUD CHF, NZD CHF, and USD CHF if those all end up being the way that we want them to be. But yeah, 4-hour break and retest to sell, 4-hour break and retest to sell. Euro GBP, daily pullback or 4-hour pullback to buy. So this is a pullback. We don't need a break and retest. And for this one, we need a break and retest to buy. So let's just do this. Quick recap. I mean, realistically, we could do this for all of them. So these ones don't really apply, but if we're going to be taking buys like we were trying to, we're going to wait for the 4-hour to break and retest to buy. Here, we're already underneath the EMA, so we just need to see the sellers coming back into the market. But ideally, it would look something like this, where we break underneath, retest to sell. CAD JPY, break, retest to buy. CHF JPY, did I say CAD CHF? CAD JPY, retest to buy. CHF JPY, retest to buy. Euro GBP, pullback to buy. These ones are the 30-minute break and retests, not the 2-hour, but they all happen around the same time. So the 30-minute will happen first, but usually in a good scenario, you'll have all three of the time frames. So the 30-minute, the 1-hour, and the 2-hour will shift at the same time. But for all of these is just going to be a 4-hour break and retest. Starting here, 4-hour break and retest to buy, to sell, and to sell. Okay. You guys have any questions? Are there any other trades you guys are looking at right now? Potential entries that you guys want to take, but want some additional confirmation? What's going on with you guys? Actually, let me go ahead and mark this down. I see UJ to buy. Okay, well, yeah, we have to mark this. Rough start to the week, man. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Now, yeah, we're down 2.2%. 2.2%. All it takes is one good trade, and we're back though. So be a little bit more vigilant with our next entries. Okay, so UJ for buys. UJ is going to look very similar to CAD JPY in general. But yeah, we're retesting the 4-hour EMA. We have the doji. We're having the reaction. Now we're in a place like this when we need to be in a place like this. So all it'll take is a little bit, and then we might just continue on up like this. Okay. So yeah, UJ, not a bad idea to buy. All JPY pairs are. In EuroCAD, it's having a massive retracement. Where do you think that it'll get to before having a continuation? EuroCAD. Oh, wow. Yeah, so this is quite the pullback. Realistically, the 4-hour EMA should stop it. I mean, where's your entry? Where's your entry? Yeah, so we're at the 4 hour EMA, we're at the 1 hour EMA. Because here's what I'm going to say. If your entry is in a good place, then you might as well just move your stop loss to break even. Yeah, I would move my stop loss to break even. And because you have to understand that there's a chance that we could be setting up with the head and shoulders here, you know? There's a good chance we could be setting up with a head and shoulders. So protect your capital, protect your position. Worst case scenario, you get taken out at break even, and then price comes back and gives you another entry. 815 to secure. Oh, that's good. Smart. Still on GBP USD from early last week. Oh, geez. Yeah, it's moving now. I pulled back into the area of interest very nicely. It's having the pullback. GBP USD. And then NZD USD is doing the exact same thing. Interesting. Oh yeah, I forgot I was still recording. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.